I am a humongous Halo fan. It's been with me ever since my birth, essentially. It was my very first video game I ever played, and I have very fond memories of running through the co-op campaign with my dad and just taking down all the Covenant and Flood and immersing myself in the sci-fi storyline Halo presented. It's one of my all-time favorite first-person shooters, and of course it's one of the best solo campaigns I've ever played in an FPS. I mean, these games are just great. So, celebrating 19 years of the Halo brand, and of course Microsoft on top of that, I want to take the time out of my day to discuss the single player campaigns in this retrospective look back at the Halo franchise. We're going to be taking a look at all of the Bungie classics and the 343 new universe that they're creating, and give you my overall thoughts and opinions on it, as well as a little bit of developmental backstory when the time calls for it. With that all being said, welcome to the very first part of the Halo retrospective, where we're going to be taking a look at none other than the single player campaigns. A fair warning ahead, I will be looking at the multiplayer and spin-off sections at a later date, mainly because if all of these were combined, it would make for a very long video, and if you see the runtime, it's already pretty lengthy enough because the campaigns have so much lore and history and gameplay to go over. So with that all out of the way, I will see you guys very soon as we enter into the Halo 1 games, and well, kick back, relax, and enjoy this retrospective look back at one of the best first-person shooter franchises known to man. Ah yes, the game that started it all. The premise to Halo 1 is pretty simple. You play as the Spartan Master Chief fresh out of cryo sleep. You wake on the Pillar of Autumn coming under fire from the Covenant threat. You're swiftly thrusted to a skirmish against these alien ruffians, and it's up to you, the Chief, to make his way to some escape pods along with some UNSC Marines and escape to a foreign ring-shaped planet dubbed the Halo. When you crash land on the planet, you're awake surrounded by dead comrades and some radio chatter giving you a rendezvous point. Now it's up to you, Master Chief and his AI Cortana, to meet up with fellow UNSC Marines, take down the Covenant threat, and most importantly, find out the secrets of this mysterious Halo ring. Firstly, for a game that came out in 2001, I say it's aged pretty well. Halo 1 is still a graphical powerhouse. Textures, despite looking a little bit washed out, do a really good job of showing off what the world is about and have a unique charm to their flat-like aesthetic. And on that note, environments are surprisingly diverse for a game in 2001, spanning sweeping forests and hills, sandy beaches, desert-like canyons, Covenant cruisers, and many more locales. I mainly played the game in the anniversary look just because it was nice to see the updated textures, and of course it running at a silky smooth 60 FPS was something I couldn't pass up. However, I do bounce between the two art styles, so sorry if that bothers viewers. On that note, these locations provide a really diverse mission structure, from slinking in the desert canyons at night, sniping Covenant forces stealthily only to use your wits to storm a Covenant vessel, or going loud and bombastic storming the beaches like on the famous Silent Cartographer level. All of the missions just offer so much variety that it never really gets old. However, the mission structure is pretty, well, simplistic all things considered. The objectives you do are consist of activating pylons, protecting Marines, driving to certain objectives, and of course, just eliminating hordes of the Covenant. However, the level design really helps the game out in this regard. Arenas do a really strong job of bouncing between these vast, wide open landscapes with little to no cover, mainly used for vehicle movement or large scale battles, you know, driving your ghost through these wide open canyons and beaches and blowing people away in the icy caverns with the Scorpion. They later will blend into these white knuckle hallway corridor sections as you enter the Forerunner structures, filled to the brim with tons of cover, yes, but also hordes of Covenant to take on. Thankfully, gunplay is as kinetic as can be. As the Chief, you hold up to two weapons and you move through the combat with your trusty regenerative shields and medkits. The more you get hit with your shields down, the faster your health is lowered, and that will cause you, the player, to scramble to find a medkit to keep your health up. Weapon variety is well balanced, if not a little bit on the basic side. UNSC offers the most fun in my opinion. You have your standard assault rifle, which feels like something straight out of the Aliens franchise of movies, the Magnum pistol, which is a hand cannon that demolishes Covenant with a well-placed headshot, the most satisfying shotgun in first-person shooter history, the bulky vehicle-killing rocket launcher, or just good for taking elites out in a single shot, and lastly, the standard sniper rifle, perfect for those instant kill headshots. That's not all though. The Covenant have their own set of weapons the Chief can use to his advantage as well, ranging from the plasma pistol, perfect perfect for disabling shields and great for rapid fire when you need to use it in a pinch, and of course the plasma rifle, your standard energy style assault rifle which uses a battery to recharge. And of course my personal favorite out of the bunch, in the Covenant side, the Needler, a weapon that shoots pink needles into the enemy forces and upon chaining shots into a single foe results in one glorious explosion. Weapons all have their place in combat, so carrying the right loadout when possible is most definitely key. For example, the shotgun is great at demolishing elite shields, so using one round on the elite and then destroying them with a well-placed pistol headshot or a barrage of assault rifle ammo is always satisfying to pull off. Trying to take out clusters of enemies but you don't have any grenades on you, it's okay, the Needler will pound those pink needles into the Covenant forces, causing a massive explosion. They all work really well, and despite not being as creative as other sci-fi shooters at the time, they still work pretty strongly in this regard. However, most of this is standard shooter stuff. What really elevates the game is the enemy AI. The Covenant puts up a really strong fight. You have your simple grunt-like enemies who are pests but provide excellent comic relief if anything, and then you have the elites who are more tactical, both mixing up their rushdown style with energy swords and plasma rifles, often going invisible to flank your position and take you down single-handedly, or they'll play the long-range game, using the Needler and plasma rifles to cause an explosion and take you and maybe some of your marines and fellow allies out. Jackals are also pretty strong enemies to take out as they have massive shields, forcing you to get accustomed with the game's controls, finding out when's the best time to circle around and strafe and smack him in the back with a well-placed melee attack, usually resulting in an instant takedown, or if you want to get special and do a little bit of target practice, use your magnum pistol to snipe open their open weapon hand and aim directly for the head, getting an instant headshot, killing them swiftly. And lastly, on the Covenant faction, we have the absolute unit, the Hunters, hulking giant baddies strapped with a massive fuel cannon and tons of armor. You have to find their weak spots and exploit them, usually on their exposed arms and back, in order to take them down efficiently. One mistake and it will result in a quick and painless death. Or if you're like me, you could just get a rocket launcher and blow them back with ease. Combat in Halo is surprisingly slow paced, asking the player to be pretty strategic when it comes to taking down the enemy forces. You really have to plan out your routes, especially on the harder difficulty, so learning the layouts of the maps and item spawns and figure out where enemies are going to be located is most definitely key. Arenas are just really well realized, ranging from those wide open vehicle spaces which are a blast to get through, ripping through canyons in a Scorpion, blowing away ghosts and banshees, it doesn't really get old, and of course the Warthog is wonderful from getting you from place to place. Combat in Halo is surprisingly slow paced, asking the player to be pretty strategic on harder difficulties, so learning the layout and item spawns and figuring out where enemies are going to be located is most definitely key. Arenas are just really well realized, ranging from those wide open spaces as we discussed earlier, and later transitioning into those closeted spaces just makes it feel very claustrophobic at times, however really exhilarating to rip through. This wouldn't mean a thing, however, if it wasn't for how incredible the gunplay is. It's tons of fun being able to bounce between those open spaces, ducking behind pillars and rock formation, and then moving into those tight linear forerunner spots, offering tons of challenging combat segments, mainly due to the lack of cover, forcing you to always stay on the offensive and learn how to efficiently move and weave through combat. It just feels exhilarating, and honestly, it never once showed its age for me. One of my favorite missions is the Silent Cartographer. It's a sick mixture of engaging onslaught as you arrive on the beach, tons of gunplay, tons of hype moments, as you later transition into vehicle transportation, getting your marines from point to point, drifting through these interesting rock structures and making sure you slide into enemies, taking them down with ease. Later, making your way into a forerunner architecture for the first time, really making sure you feel claustrophobic and cramped as elites just keep coming and coming in droves. It's a really good showcase of what Halo is about and how engaging the gameplay can be. Oh, and of course we can't forget about one of the best and worst FPS missions ever made. You all know the one, the library. When the Chief is introduced to the Flood, it really is a slow, effective build-up, showing off how scared both the Marines and Covenant are of this new parasitic threat. The Flood are terrifying too. They rightfully deserve every ounce of build-up they had. They will stop at nothing to see you dead, and will go out of their way to infect the host of your enemies and take over their bodily functions. There's something unnerving about how the Flood takes over a host and retains all of its abilities like the elite shields or the Marines' armor. Along with introducing them comes a brand new gameplay loop, which is the fact that the Flood chews through your ammo with ease, turning Halo into this typical sci-fi shooter and something more reminiscent of an alien horror film. These guys just chew through ammo like it's absolutely nothing, and it often had me scrounging for leftovers whenever I could. The main downside of the level is, well, everything else. The layout is just really really confusing, and it makes it hard to figure out where I need to go, and it makes a already long level, well, pretty confusing and tedious. I'm willing to let it slide, however, because I really loved the atmosphere it brought to the game, and the change of pace was too much fun to explore. In conclusion, introducing the Flood was a great way to shake up gameplay and keep things moving, and with that being said, we're kind of approaching the end of the game. Chief and Cortana and the ODST decide to just blow the entire Halo ring up before it unleashes its super weapon, aka the Flood, that can wipe out the universe. You grab a makeshift nuke, head to the control center of Halo, and let it blow. The game ends with Chief and Cortana driving on a Warthog, making a daring last-minute escape off the ring as it explodes in the distance, setting up for a possible sequel, as it seems the Flood and Covenant and all that stuff's kind of left in the air, and well, we're just gonna have to see where things go from there. Will Chief be able to stop the next threat? Well, tune in the next game. Halo Combat Evolved is an incredible experience with very well crafted gameplay, a surprisingly haunting and effective atmosphere, and of course, a phenomenally orchestrated score that altogether makes one heck of a start to this brand new franchise. I actually highly recommend it, and if you ever get the chance to play it, I really want you guys to. In my opinion, I really recommend playing the Halo PC port with some fan-made mods to help bring back that authentic Halo experience. However, if you can't get your hands on any of that stuff, then the Halo Master Chief Collection port is more than sufficient enough. Sorry for the little tangent, I just really felt that you guys as the audience should know that. Anyways, with Halo 1 being finished and wrapped up, it sold gangbusters on the original Xbox, and the sequel was quickly put into work. However, thankfully it wasn't rushed out the door. Bungie took their sweet time with Halo 2, releasing it winter of 2004, offering tons of new features, brand new campaign, and a surprisingly large emphasis on the Xbox Live multiplayer. Thankfully, however, this didn't mean they skimped out on the campaign the second time round, so without further ado, let's jump straight into Halo 2. This time we start out with a Covenant cutscene. You see, one of these elite troops seems to be under fire by some religious higher-ups for his mistakes on the first Halo. The Covenant were trying to protect Halo, the ring world. It's a sacred religious artifact to them, and this guy right here, he messed up big time. They all throw him under the bus, and he's quickly taken away and branded a heretic, ridiculed, and even branded and tortured by the Covenant forces. However, things seem to look up for him a tiny bit when they start calling him the Arbiter, branding him with a higher power and giving him a second lease at life. They gave him the task of hunting down the demon and finding the next Halo ring, as it's now up to this guy Arbiter to keep it under protection along with other elite forces and the Covenant assisting him. Meanwhile, Master Chief is running some diagnostics for some new Spartan armor after his daring mission on the original Halo, and after running some tests, Sergeant Johnson comes and snatches him up. They make their way over to their award ceremony and get complimented for their fine work on the Halo ring. And then suddenly, yep, that's right, the Covenant attack targeting Earth. Once again, the space station is under siege, and Chief has to work to protect not just the UNSC space station, but also Earth. He makes quick work of the Covenant forces and launches their own bomb directly back onto Covenant supercruisers, using the explosion to launch himself back to the Earth's atmosphere. Now it's up to Master Chief to head back to Earth, protect the fine citizens of the planet, and of course take out the Covenant threat once again. Halo 2 is a weird one for me personally. On one hand, there are a slew of improvements I very much enjoy, but on the other, there's this weird split perspective that really puts a damper on my enjoyment factor. The Arbiter sections are some of the most tedious missions in the entire Halo franchise, at least throughout the Bungie run, and many of the missions consist of these weird auto-run, slow-moving platforms and elevator segments with enemies falling from every which way, or those semi-on-rail shooting vehicle segments where it just goes on and on for ages. Sure, the core gunplay with the Arbiter is great fun. It's nice to use some of the new Covenant weapons like the Carbine and iconic Energy Sword, and it's really cool to go invisible and sneak behind enemy lines despite it being really way too simple and dumbed down. The second downside is, well, the main enemy types of the Covenant campaign, minus the brutes you fight towards the end of the game, are the Flood, and well, they just aren't that fun to fight in Halo 2, at least when you're playing as the Arbiter. Since the Flood kind of became the semi-main enemies of Halo 2, it's extremely easy to take them down compared to how they performed in Halo 1. Obviously, this makes the Flood less scary and terrifying to take on. They just feel like more of a nuisance that swarms you with enemies and feels like their sole purpose is to give you ammo rather than drain you of it. Despite those flaws, however, the Arbiter's campaign sections are still pretty fun, albeit a little more linear than I would like. They don't overstay their welcome, so it's okay. I just preferred how the Master Chief's campaign missions played out in this game overall to how the Arbiter's campaign missions played out. That being said, level design, despite being, again, as I stated, a lot more linear than Halo 1, is really diverse in terms of the combat arenas presented. It always feels like I'm doing something entirely new. Also, seeing Earth for the first time in the Halo universe was really sick. It was really cool to explore, well, a lot of it, from the slummy outskirts of Kenya as you fight your way onto a highway overtaken by Covenant forces, to visiting the second Halo and jumping from scarab to scarab, infiltrating those things from the inside and taking them down. The mission structure always changed things up, and it kept things from ever being stealth. Also, I really have to commend the wonderful job of mixing in those open and linear environments once again. There are a decent chunk of new mechanics and vehicles that are added to help make gameplay improved. For starters, Chief no longer needs his medkits. His shields auto-recharge after taking cover for around 2 to 3 seconds. Chief also has some new weapons at his disposal. I mean, we already mentioned the Covenant Carbine and Energy Sword, but he also has access to the rapid-fire SMG that makes quick works of everyone's shields, the 3-round burst as battle rifle, which is a very efficient mid to long range weapon that does a gorgeous job of ripping through enemy shields and bullet sponges, and we also have the Beam Sniper, a new tool the Jackals come equipped with, making you really want to be careful where you're taking cover from, as these guys can pinpoint you and shred your shields in mere seconds. Finding cover and finding a good time to pop out and shoot those guys with a well-placed headshot is absolutely crucial. And lastly, the Brute Grenade Launcher. It's a subpar device that does a so-so job of blowing up baddies and causing enemies to scatter, perfect for the small clusters of Jackals and Grunts, however not the best when it comes to those larger enemies due to the grenades being a little bit too bouncy and a little too easy to dodge. Combat overall feels really good, especially during the Master Chief sections. I love the mini boss fights you have against the Scarabs and Brutes, and in a similar vein to Halo 1, the introduction of the enemy type, the Brutes, offer a really strong challenge. These guys are straight up rush down warriors. They even throw down their guns and start charging you in full force, throwing boxes and turrets and whatever else has the misfortune of getting in their path. All the new additions gel really well together and really helps in the diversity with the mission structure and design. It really makes gameplay feel like that next strong step, minus the somewhat boring and janky Arbiter sections. Oh, and on top of that, it is really sick to fight these new drone-like enemies. These guys really are going to make you want to figure out where's the right place to aim your shot, and really challenges your aim and pushes you over the edge. A little bit annoying to take down, they definitely feel like gnats, but I think that's kind of the point. They're really fun enemies to take on, and they come equipped with just a plasma pistol and needler most of the time, so they're not too annoying to fight. All these new additions just gel together really well, and I definitely enjoyed everything the enemies had to offer. Oh, and as a quick side note, I really love the remastered anniversary visuals. The improved textures and foliage makes the game pop, as well as extremely solid lighting and colors being extremely vibrant throughout each mission. The art direction is as superb as can be, and does a wonderful job of showing off how varied the Halo world truly is. Halo 2 is a great campaign, yet probably the weakest out of the original trilogy, solely because of those Arbiter drag sections where it's just not much going on in auto-run segments. Sure, they do get better towards the end of his run, which I definitely agree with, but for the most part, they're a bit too slow and repetitive for my taste. Still, it was very cool to see the Covenant side of the Halo universe, and it had a wonderful deep dive into their politics and lifestyle, as well as expanding the ever-growing Flood parasite and its mastermind. Now we wait for Halo 3 so we could finish the fight. Halo 3 is a pivotal step forward in the Halo franchise, graphics taking a humongous leap seeing how we are on the next generation of consoles here. Lighting is massively improved, and most importantly, the areas feel much more dense and packed to the brim with minor details and a lot more vast than what was offered on the Xbox counterparts. Also, as a nice bonus, it is very nice to see Halo 3 in 4K on the Xbox One X via backwards compatibility, or if frame rate is more your thing, you could play with a super strong 60 FPS 1080p option via the Master Chief Collection. Halo 3 starts with you crash landing back onto Earth after the events of you being left out in space through Halo 2. You do finish the fight, but now it's time for you to get back to the ground and figure out what's going on with the Flood invasion as they try to take over not just Earth, but the entire universe. It's also strange to see the Arbiter collaborating with the UNSC. This causes Chief to stand up in a panic, but turns out he's on our side. Although they don't really see eye to eye, they do understand that the Flood is a much greater threat, and the elites weren't really big fans of the way the Covenant was treating them, as the Covenant has completely pushed them out with the Brute Rebellion happening in Halo 2. Now it's up to Master Chief to find Cortana, who was taken by the Gravemind, put a stop to the Flood threat, and it's up to Arbiter to take down the corrupt Covenant and bring his elites back to the side of the good. Off the bat, I love the way the Arbiter is incorporated in Halo 3 much more over Halo 2. Thanks to the story having the Chief and the Arbiter work directly together, it makes those co-op segments in the game's story flow a lot better, seeing how they are side by side experiencing the same story and similar combat sequences. The new main enemies this time around are the Brutes. They are much more difficult, surprisingly, than their Halo 2 appearance, often playing a lot more tactically and ducking behind cover and then bum rushing your position in swarms when the going gets tough, coming lock and loaded with many 2-to-1 hit kill weapons like the grenade launcher and gravity hammer, both of which you could take and turn the tables with. Now the chieftains were in Halo 2, but didn't appear until the last couple missions or so fighting the Brutes didn't really last that long. Here they are a lot more prevalent and spawn in clusters depending on which difficulty you're running. There are still the drone-like roaches, which are very frustrating little bugs to take down, flying all around all over the place. And lastly, of course, we have the Flood. The new designs of the Flood are absolutely terrifying. These guys literally go inside of Marines, Brutes, Elites, whatever their host is, and turn their bodies into something disgusting, and the animations show it in excruciatingly painful detail. When defeated, they don't just die either. They also have the chance of turning into 3 new forms. These arachnoid creatures who crawl over walls, punching at you from all over the place, these scorpion-like splitters that shoot needlers and spikes at you, and of course the tank Flood, that is the huge hulking enemy that takes what feels like endless bullets to take down, and it doesn't play any games, often throwing physic objects at you like paper mache and ripping through you in 1 to 2 hits. The new Flood are tons of fun to take on, and they're always evolving, changing forms, and making the most of the open spaces, turning into a claustrophobic death trap, and it does an efficient job of making me feel like this is truly leading up to the potential end of the universe. Level design is a huge step forward, mainly because it's the first game to take all the elements of the Halo games, the big open spaces of Halo 1, the more linear levels of Halo 2, and the vehicle sections of both, and puts them together in multiple cohesive multi-layered missions. You'll go from defending a UNSC base from an onslaught of Brutes and other Covenant forces. The next thing you know, you're escorting tons of injured Marines out of the base onto a Pelican to safety as hordes of Covenants and Flood try to put a stop to you. Sure, it's nothing out of the ordinary for Halo, but the sheer scale of these attacks, the forces on display here, are what makes Halo 3 just a bit more intense in terms of battles. The locations are also just plenty more varied than previous entries. It's really cool to finally explore more of the Flood's natural habitat and learn how they could take single parts of a planet and transform them into disgusting breeding grounds, with tons of sick visual storytelling showing off just how badly these guys need to be eviscerated. Re-exploring what I thought would be the last Halo ring was a treat as well, as it felt like a proper send-off and gave a good excuse to travel through desert and island-like areas, which were pretty neato to explore. The combat arenas felt much more diverse here too, mainly thanks to the ever-changing Flood, but the mini boss fights known as the Scarabs mixed in with the standard hunters and chieftains offered a hearty challenge, and the locations they spawned in felt fitting and made the gameplay pretty challenging as a bonus. Gameplay is also as great as ever. The introduction of equipment added a dynamic dark side to Halo I never expected to see. Mainly the bubble shield and power drain equipment caused the AI to change drastically. They'll group in bubble shields and throw them down as drastic measures to retreat or flank your position, or if they throw a power drain at you, completely overwhelm you in gunfire, making you want to discover the equipment and destroy it as quickly as possible. Couple that with the much more enclosed environments during these more equipment heavy sections, and you're talking about one of the most tactical, bombastic, and cinematic campaigns out of the entire trilogy. It's a breathtaking wrap up of the Halo series, and it's also satisfying to see the Chief finally finish the fight. Also, I can't believe I've gone this far without truly mentioning how outstanding the soundtrack by Martin O'Donnell is. The score is out of this world. It feels like something right out of a movie, from the haunting soundtrack that plays through the Gravemind level to the classic Halo theme blaring during battle sections. It's all extremely impressive work that deserves tons of support and love. If you ever get the chance, I really recommend listening to it on Spotify. Nevertheless, Halo 3 is definitely my favorite campaign out of the trilogy. It's tightly packed with content, locations are plenty diverse, and has the most interesting mission design out of the bunch. The mission diversity is most definitely understated here. There is so much variety in vehicle usage, and of course the on-foot sections that just makes this truly feel like the last Halo game. Taking a Falcon and getting a bunch of Marines loaded on as you fly through island to island, taking down these pylons and doing what you need to do to save the universe is absolutely satisfying. And the sense of scale and open-ended environments really makes combat feel like a true encounter of your own wits. It isn't just go here and do this like in Halo 2, nor is it just giant open spaces where you kind of go guns blazing, whether in a vehicle or on foot in Halo 1. Here it feels like a really tightly packed condensation of both styles, mixing and matching them perfectly, and each section just feels grand. I really enjoyed everything they had to offer in Halo 3, and the missions were out of this world, especially that final level. To wrap up the original trilogy segment, I loved revisiting the Halo trilogy. They rekindled my love for the franchise, and it was super exciting re-exploring the world and all the characters that make it up. Now we take quite the detour and visit some side ops from the Halo universe, starting with ODST. So remember the random ODST troopers you saw throughout the various Halo games? Well, now we have a full game based off of them. In comes the squad Alpha 9 with some of the most generic squad members I've seen in a game in quite a while. The lineup consists of Buck, the somewhat straight and narrow leader of Alpha 9, who's on the, well, straight and narrow, Dutch, the demo member who acts exactly like how you envision a demo member to act, brash, annoying, gets himself hurt and injured a lot, Mickey, the explosive ordnance guy who's just a chill laid back dude, and Romeo, the quiet sniper. Oh, and how could I forget about you, the player character Rookie, a silent pro-type who crash lands into some building in Mumbai, Africa, and it's up to you to piece together what happened to your squad by completing various objectives and finding clues laid out throughout the overworld. When you find these clues and activate them, you'll be sent into a playable mission where you'll play through as one of your comrades to discover the events of what happened, to later piece together a bigger puzzle. Now, before I get too into gameplay, I should let you guys know that this is indeed a spin-off. It's a really short and sweet experience, clocking in around 4.5 hours with a pretty dull mission structure. Most missions, if not almost every single mission, basically consist of you moving to a waypoint, a bunch of dumb things happen to you, and then you're gonna have to sit and defend it for a couple minutes, cue a cutscene, get thrown back into the hub world, and rinse and repeat. It gets old really fast, and despite some pretty interesting ideals, there's just not enough gameplay wise to carry it. This is mainly thanks to the lack of enemy variety. It's drastically dropped down. Here we only have the brutes, grunts, jackals, and the new enemy type, the engineers, to fight. It's just missing the tactics that the previous Halos provided. Now they did bring back medkits in a way, seeing how the ODST can't use shields. They're a lot more fragile than a Spartan, which is an interesting concept. However, the execution here is just lacking a little bit. I honestly feel like I was constantly playing a slight nerfed version of the Chief rather than an actual fragile ODST member. Gameplay and missions just weren't that great. Yeah, there again were some standout moments, as particularly the mission Kikowani Station, because there was a lot more diversity here than offered in anything else throughout the whole game. Being able to take banshees and fly from point to point, activating bridges and pylons to help move your crew across was really satisfying and fun to pull off, and the amount of variety they had here in terms of the aerial combat into on-foot sections was something I felt the entire campaign could have used to help elevate it despite its short runtime. Story-wise, the only major things they really introduce is one more enemy type called the Engineer, who shields brutes and other Covenant forces, and when defeated, blows up into a cluster of explosive chunks. Oh, and they may or may not be how the Spartans get their shield abilities. Aside from all of that, ODST doesn't do a lot new. The story is really generic and felt like a test run for what we're going to see in Reach. The gameplay is pretty simple and the hub world just feels unnecessary. It's just an alright game, you know, nothing harmful, nothing too egregious. It was just okay, but it's not anything I could really recommend unless you are a die-hard Halo fan itching for some more gameplay and content. Despite the downsides, there is one really cool factor about ODST, however, and that's them introducing the firefight mode, a wave-based never-ending onslaught of Covenant enemies, and it's a ton of fun to play despite the ODST maps being a bit on the small side compared to what we're going to get in Reach. It's a really cool mechanic and it offered a ton of hype co-op matches, so I was really glad to see that they kept bringing this mode back in future installments. All in all, ODST isn't the worst, but it's not something I'm gonna recommend to you guys anytime soon. Play it if you're a Halo fan and want some more lore. Other than that, you could skip it and move right on to Reach, which I think we're gonna get to right now. Halo Reach, the prequel to the entire Halo trilogy. See, if you've been following the lore up to this point of release, reading up on the lore, the codex entries, listening to Marine dialogue throughout Halo, and of course reading the books, you would have learned about the most infamous event in the entire universe, the Fall of Reach, a huge battle that marks the Covenant's first major threat against the human race. We play as Noble 6 this time round, a special forces group of Spartans whose sole objective is to put a stop to the Covenant on Reach and protect Dr. Halsey with whatever means necessary. Dr. Halsey being the creator of both the Spartan program and the AI known as Cortana. You're introduced to the Noble squad to help out with the fight on Reach, and you're no new guy on the team either. Your case file is blacked out, classified. You've been through hell and back, and the game's talking directly to longtime Halo fans and treating us like the cool guys we are. Reach really does feel like a genuine heart-filled adventure with a wonderful, albeit a bit more cinematic prequel and send-off to not just the Halo franchise, but to us longtime fans. Sure, we're back to basics in terms of gameplay since we're in the Mark 1 armor. We have medkits and shields returning along with some familiar spins on equipment from Halo 3. New equipment includes sprinting, a first in the Halo franchise, the jetpack for reaching higher ground, the armor lock ability for nullifying all damage you take, and some familiar equipment drops like the drop shield, which is very reminiscent of the bubble shield from Halo 3, but unlike the Halo 3's bubble shield, it can heal you in clutch moments. Also different from Halo 3 is how equipment doesn't have a one-time use. Each piece has its own recharge time and set of benefits and drawbacks, except the armor lock ability. Like at lower difficulties, maybe, sure, but on heroic, the minute or the second you use it, every enemy just stops driving, shooting, whatever they may be doing, waits for your shield to drop it, then pumps you full of lead. The equipment I used the most was the handy drop shield. It covers me from incoming fire, it recharges my health without a med kit, and it's really helpful in a pinch. Gameplay is very reminiscent of Halo 3. It's really refreshing to visit a new place that isn't Earth or a Halo ring this time, and on top of that, we finally get to explore and battle and Reach, the fabled first planet that fell to the Covenant's attacks, and experiencing Reach was so hype. We traveled through farmlands, underground mines, skyscrapers, inside the city buildings, desert canyons, and yes, even space. Gameplay here locale-wise is easily their most diverse work yet. My personal favorite mission is a long night of solace, starting from ground level, working your way into a space hangar, brute forcing your way onto the actual spaceship, going all the way into space to take on a Covenant spaceship, using a black hole slip space bomb to detonate it, and finally finish off with a crash landing back onto Reach is one of the most hype missions I've played in a first-person shooter, honestly, of all time. And all of that without any scripted moments, no quick time events, no slow crawling, it's all gameplay. You are actually controlling the ship, you're actually entering these dogfights, you're actually landing onto the Covenant dropship. All of it is just rewarding. It's truly some of the most creative, challenging, and most importantly, enjoyable segments I've played in the entire Halo franchise. And every mission feels like this for the most part. Jumping from skyscraper to skyscraper in a Falcon, going inside buildings and taking down Covenant forces, saving hostages as you try to escort them off of Reach as the entire planet is just burning to the ground. It just feels a lot more expansive than any previous is Halo. Oh, and of course, par for the course, we have some new weapons to mess around with. The now standard GOAT weapon on the UNSC, the DMR, a semi-automatic rifle that's perfect for headshots. The new UNSC standard grenade launcher, a needler rifle, which is self-explanatory. The plasma repeater, aka you pick this up over the plasma rifle. On top of the UNSC grenade launcher, which is remote operated and awesome for taking down groups of foes, you also have the plasma launcher, which can be charged and dish out up to 4 plasma cluster grenades. Each weapon has a purpose, and throughout the campaign they're given just frequently enough so I had plenty of variety to work with. The weapons are all fun and really diverse to use, and the mission structure, as stated before, is some of the best in any Halo game. It is some of the largest, longest, and most expansive missions, and they never, despite their long runtime, overstay their welcome. You're constantly moving from different objectives, blowing stuff up, activating pylons, and yes, even the defend the point segment similar to ODST. They really did take all the best aspects and all the things we learned from each game, boosted the engine, boosted the gameplay, and just made something absolutely incredible. Oh, and the storyline, despite having some pretty simplistic characters, I just can't deny it is one of the most gut-wrenching stories in Halo history. Don't lie, you guys definitely got choked up watching your team get picked off one by one throughout cutscenes. The whole game is just sublime, and it really does feel like a perfect way for Bungie to end the franchise and move on to new beginnings. The way they sent off Noble 6, aka you as the player, at the very end of the game was really bittersweet. Having you actually sit down and play your final moments was something that was really hard to do playing through tears. The overall tone of the story was a lot more grim, dark, but yet still filled with hope, as we all know the events afterwards eventually ends with Master Chief saving the universe, and it was just a wonderful send-off to Bungie's last hurrah in the Halo universe. As you all know, soon after Halo Reach release, Bungie left Microsoft Studios and later worked with Activision to go on and create the Destiny franchise, a game franchise I will cover later down the road in the future, as I do actually want to get around to finishing Destiny 2 with all the DLC and Destiny 1 with all its DLC, but in the meantime, I figured we'll let bygones be bygones and let Bungie have their wonderful send-off to the Halo franchise here. So, with Bungie leaving, we have a new studio on the way, 343 Industries, a studio made up of Halo fans and industry veterans. So how will they stack up creating their new Halo trilogy? Well, to be blunt, pretty poorly. Halo 4 is the most confused, disrespectful, disgraceful game in the entire franchise. I mean, the whole hook of Halo 4's main storyline, the entire Reclaimer saga they're building up, is trying to make Master Chief feel more human. Now, as a Halo fan, I'm pretty sure you all understand how dumb of an ideal this is to begin with. I mean, Chief is human. They showed us his humanistic side officially in, oh, I don't know, Halo 2 and 3, the game where he's going out of his way to find Cortana, which, by the way, is the crux of the entire plot throughout the new trilogy. It's just really such a generic way to give life to a character in a sci-fi reboot. Oh, he's a big hulking space marine, we must give him a motive and a fake deep is he a machine or human narrative so the player can relate. Yeah, but they're missing one fatal flaw to what made Master Chief so great. It's that fact that Master Chief is the player. Part of what makes Halo storytelling so effective is both the Arbiter and the Chief. It's easy to insert yourself into their shoes and experience the story through their eyes. Throwing in pointless plots about if he's human or not, which is technically you, the player, feels really forced and arbitrary. Sorry, I'm getting way ahead of myself, and story is honestly the least of Halo 4's concern, so let's get the overview, well, over with. Our story starts with some UNSC big shot grilling Dr. Halsey about how dangerous Cortana is as she's beginning to go rampant. Also, they need to bring back the unhinged Master Chief. Jump cut to Chief finally waking up on the ship he was left stranded on in Halo 3, and Cortana is struggling with rampancy, a disease that infects AI when they're on their last legs. Chief awakens from cryo sleep and is greeted with a warm welcome from no, it couldn't be. The Covenant? Didn't we defeat them in the last game? What? Arbiter stabbing the Overseers and the Elites? The Elites are back and we're fighting them? Like, what is going on? Okay. Hopefully they'll explain it all later. So the chief fights his way through the ship and encounters a giant floating sci-fi ball. Okay, it's this new ship that's ran by a Didact, a forerunner god of sorts that has beef with Master Chief for some reason, and he wants to destroy the universe and start the human race anew. Okay, it's now up to Chief to save Cortana from rampancy, get the ODST to regain his trust in him, and of course stop the Didact from destroying the universe and starting the human race anew. Overall, without getting too much into the story, it flat out sucks. I hate the amount of weird romantic tension Master Chief and Cortana have with each other, and I really despise the writers trying to make Chief out to be this love-crazed anti-hero who doesn't want to follow orders or something of that nature. And the fact that UNSC commanders keep harping on him and telling him to stop chasing after the bad guy and stop trying to save the universe feels so forced and unnecessary. Like, the Chief saved the universe multiple times. We played through these sagas and now UNSC is telling him to just stop? Like, why can't they just let him save the world again and get back to Earth and just fix himself up? And I don't know, it's just all really tiresome. So aside from the wax story, surely the gameplay itself can salvage the game, right? Nope, unfortunately it can't even do that. The game really just feels like a subpar Call of Duty campaign. Mission variety is somehow even worse than ODST, and the whole game is just way too linear and constrictive. Mission structure mainly consists of go here and destroy this, go here and hold X on said terminal, and hold a 0.45 to 6 minutes. It gets old really fast, and the new enemy types don't help out either. The Prometheans are pretty bland in my opinion. These guys have 3 main enemy types. The Knight, the bulky elite like baddies who teleport out of combat scenarios and can summon some enemy types called the Watchers. These guys fly around and set up shields to revive down Prometheans. Then there's the Crawlers, super fast, easy to headshot, grunt like enemies. They usually just bum rush your position and they melt like the cannon fodder they are. Now the new enemy types aren't all that bad. I do really enjoy how the Watchers add a nice spin on combat and feel like a much more refined version of the drones from the previous Halo game, as they often defend their allies and even revive the tough enemies, making the whole full of combat feel pretty unpredictable. However, the main issue is the Knights. These things are poorly made, man. They teleport after taking any tiny bit of damage. Their health pool is absolutely massive, and it feels like when I encounter one of these guys, it's just a mixture of fighting an elite, brute, a hunter, all of those things wrapped into one with a annoyingly obnoxious teleport mechanic, especially when these guys strap themselves up with the cluster rocket incinerator cannon. They're easily the most aggravating enemy game in the entire Halo franchise, which makes it all the worse towards the end when they just start shoving them down your throat repeatedly as you progress towards the harder quote-unquote sections of the game. As for the elite standard Covenant troops, it's more of the same. They haven't changed much, if at all. I do kinda dig the new designs they have for their grunts, making them more reptilian-like, and the jackals have a kinda unique style to them, but overall, they don't offer much of a challenge, sadly. I mean, hey, new weapons are always fun to use, right? The suppressor is an absolutely broken weapon, and personally my favorite machine gun to use in these combat encounters. The light shot is just another Covenant carbine DMR ripoff, and it just makes me always want to pick up either a Covenant carbine or a DMR. It's got a satisfying punch to it and really good sound design, but overall it's just okay. And the binary rifle is a super satisfying sniper I didn't get to use too often, but really cool at disintegrating enemies nonetheless. There's also a sticky detonator that's just a evolution of the grenade launcher, so that's always cool to use, and some cool new vehicles like the powerhouse that is the Mantis and Mongooses now have missiles strapped to them. The Mantis is a sweet mech that stomps on evildoers and comes strapped with missiles, machine guns, and a bunch of ammunition galore. It's always a blast to use in combat. Sadly, when it's introduced, it's always the most scripted sections. Also, new weapons and vehicles, they're just not enough to save this game. We have such bland mission design here with plenty of waiting and transporting and going through auto run sections between objective to objective, very annoying enemies that all feel like their goal is to either snipe from afar or teleport all over the place, often causing you to just waste ammo or well, wait patiently for them to pop in wherever they're going to be. And if that's not the case, they're just going to swarm your position with a bunch of insta-kill rocket launchers and melee attacks, then teleport back out. It's extremely scripted, with way too many events of the Prometheans screaming at your face or forcing you to collide broken elevator shafts with the most obvious cues telling you exactly when to dodge out of the way of incoming debris. This story is just a mess, a stupid forced chosen one plot with really ham-fisted dialogue and set pieces, and the gameplay is just mad linear and restrictive, even making the vehicle sections feel, well, pointless, as you're set to follow a pretty obvious route rather than explore to your own will. Oh yeah, and it has the most tedious enemies I've ever had the misfortune of taking on in a Halo game. Halo 4 is just a mess, and talking about it, it just makes me really sad. Oh, and no firefight? They took it out for some bland, generic Spartan Ops mode, cause you know, out of all the things we wanted from our Halo, it was a Modern Warfare inspired rip-off mode with episodic entries we had to wait for. Hey, at least the game graphically does look really dang good, and it has a steady 60 FPS once again with the Master Chief Collection, and I won't lie, the sound design is extremely solid. However, it's just not enough to save a really bland and forgettable game that I want to wipe from the face of the earth. 343 overall just clearly showed with this game they had no idea what they were doing with the Halo franchise. It's like they wanted to create their own thing, but they had to shoehorn Master Chief and the crew into it. Hopefully they'll pick up the slack with Halo 5 Guardians, although my expectations are pretty low, as this is, no joke, the only Halo campaign I haven't played, because everything I heard about it was so awful I decided to not go through with it until this very video right now. Second verse, same as the first. Similar to Halo 2, this time our story has a new protagonist. Welcome in Spartan Locke to the party, the Spartan who works for Oni along with his squad mates and has the objective of fighting and stopping the rogue AI Cortana and ringing in the blue team, aka Mr. Master Chief himself, before things get too out of hand. And on the blue team side of things, we have Master Chief and his squad with their tasks to, I guess, find Cortana. They didn't really explain it. Take her down once and for all and wipe her completely from the universe, as she's going off the rails with her Forerunner influence rampancy. Her end objective is to summon the Guardians of the Universe that scatter them about searching for Halo rings and destroying any planet or anyone that gets in her way so she could build the universe anew. However, in order to stop her, they're going to need Master Chief and the blue team. Now, as per usual, it's up to the blue team to stop Cortana, Locke's team to find the Chief and put an end to Cortana's shenanigans, as well as stopping the rogue Covenant troops from splintering off of Arbiter's control. Halo 5's campaign is honestly leagues ahead of Halo 4. It still got the Force Chief as an anti-hero stuff with Locke running all around the galaxy trying to stop Chief, only for him to basically, at the tail end of the game, just go up to him and be like, hey sir, can we please team together? So can we take down Cortana as a team? Like it's some fairy tale friendship bracelet. I don't know what was going on with that. It's definitely a lot less focused than 4. However, at least it's not as egregious as 4. I honestly don't even mind Spartan Locke that much. Yeah, he's a bit of a straight edge kind of guy, but his squad has some decently funny banter, my favorite of which being Buck and going back to the Covenant habitats. Going back to the Covenant habitat and finding out about the group of marauders who are doing wrong by the Arbiter was an interesting piece of lore to learn about. And yeah, seeing the Arbiter back was kinda cool, to be admittedly fair. The major downside is, despite the story clearly being a tell about Chief and Cortana, Blue Team only has like 3 missions, with the bulk of the game being about Locke's weird journey to find him. It's really frustrating not being able to see both perspectives efficiently, and Chief sections move way too fast for me to even figure out what's going on or why I should even care. It's got a bit of that Halo 2 syndrome, but far worse in the other direction this time round. However, despite my nagging, I did enjoy the tale told here much more than Halo 4, and again, Locke wasn't that bad of a protagonist to follow. The core issue is the fragmented storytelling, and the force thieves the narrative tries to shove down the player's throat, which is a similar issue that Halo 4 had. So how is gameplay? And well, on that front, is it even decent? Well, for starters, levels are definitely a lot more open than usual. There's a lot of environments where vehicles are actually able to be utilized to their full potential. Even the more linear levels have a lot stronger focus in their design, lots of less scripted transportation segments like in Halo 4, and more open areas where gunplay can strive, going going for a more co-op focused campaign. Speaking of which, gunplay is definitely, well, more Call of Duty-esque. Each gun has iron sights, whether it's a mini zoom in with an overlay or a full-on ion scope. Alongside a slew of new Spartan abilities, we now have an evasive dash used to escape or move through combat encounters, a fully implemented sprint button along the new Spartan charge where you sprint at full speed ahead and then slam into the opposition, and Spartans can also use this ability in midair with a ground pound. The game looks and sounds absolutely amazing, especially the new Magnum pistol sound. Personally, my favorite pistol sound in the entire Halo franchise. Something about it is very satisfying to use and reload with. Mission objectives do a so-so job of variation. The level design definitely helps in that case. There's a really cool segment where you use your thrusters to platform around an elevator falling from a super high skyscraper as you shake off Promethean and Covenant pursuers. That was a huge standout for me, and more segments like that would have went a long way for this game. Thankfully, they're not too few and far between here, and they're featured heavily throughout the campaign. Weapon variety is back and mainly focuses on bringing back classics like the SMG, battle rifle, and other Halo essentials. What really makes the game is the fixed enemy variety. The classic Covenants are still here, and yes, they are more tactical and cunning over their Halo 4 counterparts, finally hiding behind boxes, camping on ledge, and doing their best to draw you out of cover. The Prometheans introduced a new enemy type, the Promethean Soldier. These are pretty standard armored troops who carry around light rifles and suppressors, who have breakable armor similar to shielded elites. Hitting those vital points will demolish these guys with ease, but blind firing and not targeting them will give you not only an ammo drain, but a really hard time. Which means, yep, the Promethean Knights are finally fixed. No more annoying teleporting all over the place like a laggy Scorpion you fight in MK11. Now they play a lot more brute force oriented, swarming your position with scatter shots and overwhelming you and your partners in combat, and popping their head full of lead when the armor is breaking off. Small weapon tweaks go a long way too, like the Magnum power being just a bit stronger and the bolt pistol having a really satisfying 3-round burst. All in all, Halo 5 is a competent entry, all things considered. There's not a lot new here, it plays it extremely safe. As a matter of fact, all of the new stuff I really want to cover is in the multiplayer section, which is a first for the Halo franchise. Sure, it's definitely a mediocre title, and the ending is such a weird cliffhanger, but at the end of the day, it's nothing I'd put under Halo 4, and honestly, I'd even say I enjoyed it a bit more than ODST, especially if you could run in there with a bunch of co-op friends. And that will conclude my thoughts on every single Halo campaign. If I were to rank these games from best to worst, it'd go as follow. Halo 3 was obviously, in my opinion, the definitive one. It is just a very well-rounded game. It is a perfect send-off to the Halo franchise, and playing through all the missions was really exhilarating, not only at the time, but replaying it now in 2020. Combat Evolved follows second. There's just so much done right with the simplistic gunplay and in beautiful environments that you can't go wrong with this classic, and the level design minus the library is really strong and a testament to showing how much that game paved the way for first-person shooters as time went on. Many people to this day are using the stuff Halo Combat Evolved is using right now, and I feel like it deserves its compliments. Number 3 is Halo Reach. There's just a lot really done well here, and honestly I could see it going above Combat Evolved if it wasn't for a couple of nagging issues I have with it, mainly just being the fact that some of the equipment just isn't that useful to use, and some sections do get a tad repetitive. And following behind Reach, you have Halo 2. This is just the weird one of the entire trilogy, right? It just felt kind of awkward. There wasn't a lot bad there wasn't a lot good. It was kind of okay, but there was just a lot of weird sections with the Arbiter levels where you're literally doing nothing but fighting on hordes of flood for upwards to 30 to 40 minutes as you just sit on a moving platform. I mean, stuff like that just didn't fly with me, and the Arbiter sections just felt really rushed, or like they didn't have enough time to flesh out the character the way they wanted to. And falling behind that one is Halo 5 Guardians. The biggest surprise to me, because I thought this was going to be the one I'd hated the most, but it is actually pretty competent, and the fact that it is one of the few first-person shooters out there on the main market that's targeting a 60 FPS frame rate with a pretty satisfying gunplay and different mission design that definitely picked up towards the end, honestly has me a little bit hopeful for Infinite. If they could keep that same energy they were keeping up with towards those last 3 missions of Halo 5 Guardians, I could definitely see Infinite being one of the best Halo games we've had in quite some time. And behind that is ODST. It's a spin-off, there isn't a lot to say here. It's obviously mediocre because, to be blunt, the developers kind of made it mediocre. It's just good old Halo missing the good part. It's just okay Halo. Oh, and then Halo 4. This one isn't even a Halo game. I don't consider it a Halo game. It's just a Call of Duty clone with a Halo skin. Just literally play Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare or anything from that era. I honestly will even recommend the Medal of Honor reboots. Like, they're literally better than this trash. Like, just don't play it. It's bad. There's so much you could go better with. And that is going to do it all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 where we're going to be going over the multiplayer, a first for a retrospective series like this. Thank you to Microsoft for having all those servers open so we could still go back in time and replay all of the original Halo games the way they're supposed to be intended, right? With their online multiplayer and everything intact, which is absolutely exciting. Again, thank you all so much for watching the video. I will see you guys very, very soon with the Halo sequel video. We're going to be going into the multiplayer aspect, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on the Halo campaign. What do you guys enjoy about it? What do you not enjoy? And are you guys excited for Infinite? That's all from me. Have a wonderful day, and see you guys next time.